Welcome to Berowra waters. Welcome back to the channel. We're at Berowra Waters today, which is one of my favourite creeks in Sydney.
We're launching from Berowra Waters Marina, about 40 kilometres north of Sydney. The easiest way to get there is to come up the M1 to Berowra and then come down the hill and travel across the ferry.
We're going to go up to Calabash Creek and hopefully find a spot to stop for a barbecue.
Calabash Bay is about a kilometre north of Berowra Waters, and Calabash Creek is the largest of the three creeks that come off it. Just north of the marina is Berowra Waters Inn. It's a really well-known restaurant that has an excellent menu, and actually has its own ferry to get you there.
Berowra Waters is a really great spot because you don't have all the tourist traffic that you get at Bobbin Head. I'll show you a little bit of the place as we get up there, and looking forward to quite a fun day.
The town of Berowra Waters extends about a kilometre up to Calabash Bay, and all the houses you see on the side of the river here are water access only. All these houses will typically leave cars at the marina and use small boats to get back and forth. You can see quite a bit of small boat traffic on this leg, and it's something to watch out for.
Calabash is about a kilometre north of Berowra Waters. It's the first creek on the left as you head north towards the Hawkesbury. Calabash Bay has three good creeks that you can get up at high tide. Each one's a little bit different from the others.
These houses are pretty much the last bit of civilization for kilometres in this direction.
This side of the bay can get pretty shallow. You do need to go out to the left as you're coming in, and it's something to be mindful of at low tide.
Once you get into Calabash Creek, it starts as mangrove-lined edges, but slowly progresses into more typical Australian gum forest. The first section is quite shallow, and we have a lot of difficulty getting in here at a low tide.
And this is a great example of why Calabash Creek's one of my favourites. Absolutely quiet, nothing around for kilometres, and you have beautiful clear water. And we're not actually in National Park here, which makes for a nice change. So a bit of a change of plans. Given how low the tide is today, we're actually going to go and explore a new bay, Deep Bay, and see if we can find a spot there for lunch that won't have us dragging the kayaks.
Deep Bay is only a short paddle across Berowra Creek from Calabash Bay. We'd never been in there before, so we thought today might be the chance to see if we could find a spot to stop.
We're really having to pick our way through the creek here. It's so shallow everywhere that just going back and forth, you can usually find a deep channel on one edge of the river under the mangroves, and that's what we're having to do. We just made it. If we'd left that any later, I think we would have been dragging the boats.
Just as we made it out of the mangroves, we actually got lucky and spotted a really large stingray. Normally when we spot stingrays, they take off straight away, so I was really lucky to be able to get this footage.
That stingray was pretty cool. That's one of the biggest ones I've seen up this creek.
Once we finished checking out the stingray, we made our way across to Deep Bay. Oddly enough, it goes back in a lot further than it looks, but it's lacking the creek that you normally see in this kind of bay.
Here we are in Deep Bay. We're just having a bit of a conversation about whether this is a good spot for a barbecue.
While it's a nice spot, there was nowhere to get out at Deep Bay, so we decided to continue on. We've done several trips to Half Moon Bay, and it's usually the best place to stop at a low tide. There's also a couple of really good creeks at the back.
This is Half Moon Bay, and our quest to find a spot to have a barbecue continues. There's a couple of good spots up here.
As I paddled towards this tree, I actually noticed one of my favourite birds, the azure kingfisher. It's really hard to catch them because they're so small and so fast, but I actually got a few seconds of footage here.
There's usually a spot here to stop at low tide. The sandbar comes right out and makes a great little beach. Although if you stay here too long, you can find that the boat ends up quite a ways from the water.
It's deeper. Okay.
The top of Half Moon Bay, you've got these two creeks that form sort of a crescent shape. I think that's where it gets the name. However, at low tide today, one of them's completely out of the water, so it looks more like a road. We're not going to try and push down to the end. We're going to go back and try and find somewhere on the beach. You can see the high tide mark on these rocks behind me. We're actually sitting about a metre down in the water. Probably shouldn't film these videos at low tide. I swear everything's about 50% prettier when there's some more water to... I'm officially aground, so I think from here it's going to be a short walk over to where the others are.
Yeah, it's been out around water longer here.
The sensible thing would be to attach a tow rope and then pull the boat along. Of course, I always forget to do that, so we'll just give it a push and hope for the best.
The reason for today's barbecue was to celebrate the birthday of my two good friends, Paul and Karen. They were two of the first people I met when I started kayaking, and it seemed appropriate to try and celebrate the day with them, doing something that they love. The chance to sit and have sausages cooked on a small gas burner on a beach in the middle of nowhere seemed like a really fitting way to celebrate the day. While we often have really big adventures together, going to new places and exploring the waterways around Sydney, these simple outings in our own backyard are always some of my favourites. As we packed up and got back on the water, the four of us were all glad that we got to spend the time together. The beach where we spent lunch together will be under the water again soon, and it'll be as if we were never there.
That was a pretty good meal. Everybody's fed and happy, and we're going to head back now to Berowra waters. We've even got the tide starting to come in, so we didn't have to walk all that way in the mud.
I was always told that Berowra means place of winds. I thought it was really fitting because this stretch of the river quite often has a strong headwind, and it can make getting back very difficult if you're not ready for it. However, I recently read it means place of shells, because along these banks there's hundreds of shell middens that were left by the local indigenous people who lived here for thousands of years and feasted on the oysters that used to grow on this part of the river. To the north of Half Moon Bay is Moogamurra Nature Preserve. It's a special national park that's closed most of the year and only open when the wildflowers that grow there are in bloom. We were lucky today and didn't have a headwind on our way back. it gave us a chance to appreciate the houses that are in Berowra waters. If you'd like to come and explore this part of the river, you can actually rent kayaks from the marina, as well as a number of powered dinghies, as well as a number of other boats. They actually have a really nice barbecue boat that takes 12 people and looks like a great day out.
If you continue past the ferry here, you'll end up down at Crosslands Reserve and ultimately at the end of the creek. It's actually a really nice paddle, it's about 6 kilometres. Quite often we'll start at Crosslands and paddle up here to get fish and chips from the cafe. One of the really awesome things about coming back here at the end of the day is that the general store actually sells beers, so you can reward yourself after a hard day's paddling.
Thanks for watching. If you have any questions about Berowra waters, please reach out in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, please think about subscribing. It'd really help me to make more content. And even leave a like or a comment so I know what you'd like to see next. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.